this is Chris Lesso. I'm from the band Modus Factor, and I have my own thing called LTR, Life Through Rhythm. So it's becoming our best selves through the magic of drumming. I love drumming. I've drummed since I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it really is like a calling. The drums choose you. You don't choose the drums, it chooses you. It's awesome. So I've been doing this for a very long time, since I was a little kid, and Sabian cymbals was actually the first cymbals I got. And funny story about that, my dad took me to a store in Toronto called Just Drums, which has been around for a long time, and we got Sabian B8 hi-hats, and that's it. So the rest of the set I had to make up from like books and boxes and stuff. So my dad, I guess, didn't know that much about drums, but got me Sabian B8 hi-hats, and ever since then I played Sabian. I love what the company's about, the sound of the cymbals, the vibe, the way they're always coming up with new ideas. It's such an innovative company. So let me take you through what I'm using here in my setup and why I use it. So I love the HHX sound. It's got a bite to it. It's complex, it's dark. I find that sometimes talking about cymbals is almost like talking about wine. It gets pretty abstract, like overtones of pepper and all this stuff, and there's a lot of esoteric talk that goes on in that world. It's a little bit like that in cymbals, and I was so lucky to go to the Sabian factory a couple years ago and work with Mark Love to come up with a few cymbals. And that was amazing. That everybody in that factory is incredible. It's such an amazing core of true craftsmen and masters. And there was a recent tour Sabian did called Meet the Masters, and I got to meet even some more of them. And what an amazing company and artisans and craftsmen. And this tradition has been going back a very long time. So I can remember working with Mark with some cymbals, and just how much you talk about, oh, I'd like a little darker but not so much sustain, or a little bit of a richer sound and more high tone. So it gets very almost abstract. So find the cymbals that you love, and you know, it's very much your thing. So don't be swayed by what anybody else says. It's like, find your tone, and you know, really use your ears as much to hear the potential in each cymbal. So I use HHX. It's got that dark, complex tone, but it's got that bite and that attack and that kind of aggressiveness. So I really like that darkness and aggressiveness. And again, I'm going to use words that are, sometimes it's hard to describe the tones and what attracts you to it, but you got to trust your intuition and your gut. And over time, you kind of learn what is your authentic self-expression. When I was a kid, like I said, I started with the B8s, and sometimes I have students that are asking, what should, you know, the line is so varied. There's so many different choices. Or what should I do? And sometimes you pick your favorite drummer's tone, and that's what I did a lot of times. You pick, it's like, oh, I want that sound. That's me, a little bit of me in there. But a lot of times you just start out with kind of the middle line, and then you evolve in your own self-expression. So that's how I was with the B8s, and then I went to the AAs, which are a little brighter, and then the AAX came out, and then I was into HH for a while, which is the hand hammer line, and then, like I said, HHX. Pretty much everything is HHX. So let's kind of go around the world here, around my zone. Come on back to my world. So first I've got the Omni 18-inch HHX, and Jojo Mayer developed this, and he started with the AAX line, and I always found that was really glassy and it didn't have a lot of sustain. And the first time, like I set this up and I went, okay, let me try it. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, just that one hit. I was sold on that one hit. It literally was like, bang, oh, beautiful. And I remember hearing Jojo talk about, you know, he's one of my favorite artists. I love what an individual and what an awesome person and drummer and artist. And And he talked about, he's developed his own cymbals, his own sticks, his own sound. And he says it's interesting, it's like a selfish thing. Like he developed the cymbals for himself and then basically shared them with the world. So I kind of love that. Like there's that kind of positive selfishness in art where you're really trying to find your own thing and really search unapologetically for that. So that's the Omni HHX, and I've got that as my left because you notice that I've got 2 ride cymbals and 2 hi-hats, and I started playing open-handed almost 20 years ago after playing many years cross because I wanted to bring my self-expression to the next level and develop my weaker hand and just be able to come up with a bigger palette of ideas. So highly recommend some percentage if you're playing open-handed. You can open up your cymbal setup, it's pretty cool. So in a song, if I'm playing the right ride cymbal, and I can crash it too, it's just a great cymbal, so that's really cool. I've also got the Extreme Crash HHX, which is a cool one. I just like it. If you've ever seen Spinal Tap, it's like, listen to that, listen to the sustain, listen to the tone. If you don't get that, go watch the movie. It's one of my favorites. And I've got the Fierce Crash over here, which is a vault line, very HHX as well. It's a little brighter, slightly trashy. It's kind of cool. And if you look, it's not perfectly spherical anymore, or not perfectly in line, because I've hit it. And I don't believe in like hitting cymbals. You hear me say like, don't hit the drums. It's more like a high five. So you're kind of coming off the cymbal. But still, I like to get into it, and I like to get a huge, massive sound out of the cymbals, and you can see it's actually become slightly wavy. So it's really like almost become my signature cymbal in a sense, because probably no 2 Fierce Crashes sound exactly like that. So this cymbal here, I really love the Big and Ugly line. Big and Ugly. And this is kind of a prototype, and you can see the word prototype there. So it's a line, it's kind of in the Big and Ugly sound, and I really like the darkness of it, but also the definition. Again, you can hear the words. Sometimes it's a challenge to look for the words to describe cymbals, but I just like it. It's a really cool cymbal, and I kind of like 20-inch ride cymbals. I don't know why, just when they're too big, I don't know. It's your own thing, right? So I really like a 20-inch. So I asked Sabian for a 20-inch version of the Big and Ugly, and kind of like that sound, and we came up with this. So let me just play it for a second. Or that deep hum. Just gorgeous cymbal. Like when you find your cymbal that speaks to you, you'll just want to play it kind of all day. It'll kind of inspire you to come up with ideas. So that's a 20-inch. I love my crashes to be 17 inches. I don't know why. To me, it's the perfect size. And these go, I heard someone say once, like, pay attention to how your cymbals sound as a team, because sometimes one cymbal can sound really, really cool, and then you set it up in the big picture and it doesn't really work. So I love also how these all work together. Hi-hats, I love the 13-inch hi-hats. I know, like the Steve Jordans of the world, all those giant hi-hats, and Thomas Pridgen and drummers like that. I've tried it, it's really, really cool. I like to go smaller, I don't know. So these are the HHX Groove hats. I love that they cut, but they're also got that deep sound. So I don't want like a polite sound. I like it to cut and be aggressive and complex, but so these hats really kind of do that. I love Carter Beauford, Dave Matthews Band, one of my favorite drummers, and sometimes it's good to have another drummer as a gateway, as it were. So I kind of was, if you listen to the song number 41 and that with all those cymbals and his hi-hats, I kind of was going for that sound a little bit, and yeah, they just make me want to play. And they're not too bright, but not too dark, and of course the open sound is just cool. I love it. I feel like a little kid when I talk about these. And lastly, you got a 12-inch prototype. So I don't know if you can see that word prototype there. So again, I got this in the Sabian factory. Go visit the Sabian factory in Meductic, New Brunswick. It's awesome, in Canada. Beautiful part of the world and beautiful factory. And awesome to see the cymbals made. So if you can't get there to the factory, watch the YouTube videos and the documentary on how these are made, because I almost took them for granted a little bit growing up. Oh, it's a cymbal, okay. Cool, and you find your favorites and all that, but when you see them made from molten metal, and then you see the guys hand hammering it, and I actually tried to hammer it, because you can actually take that kind of half-made cymbal and try it yourself if you're in the factory. Man, those guys make it look easy. That is hard. So that's the 12-inch hats. I think it's based off of an Artisan line a little bit, and it's just got a nice chick sound, but it's dark at the same time. And I've got it permanently in the closed position here. And I also like how it complements the other one. So I love that, just kind of going back and forth like that. So that's my setup. I'm pretty much good on, I try not to get too stuck on something and to try other things a lot, but I love the HHX line. But again, find your voice. That's what Sabian's about, and you should be about as a drummer. Use this journey to find your own voice and your authentic self-expression. Be unapologetically yourself, and use Sabian cymbals and the many voices to help you find your voice.